Get started. Get started. So we're gonna go over doing closing cost estimates in Bright MLS. How many of you are using them right now doing Bright closing cost estimates? Doing them?
I just did it for the first time to use it,
Okay.
and more on the seller side than the buyer.
Cool. Yeah, so I use these with all the buyers that we work with. What I did today is I really just cleared out all of my presets in the Bright MLS. There's some things that are preset in there. I wanted to clear it out. I wanted to just go through the numbers that we all see and use and basically recreate the presets. And then let's work through a couple of buyer scenarios to figure out, just running closing costs for a couple of different scenarios. So, for those of us that use these closing cost estimates, how do you get the information that you put into the estimate when you meet an initial buyer? What do you use to get it? Or what questions do we ask to get the information?
Well, it depends on the information. So for the appraisal, I usually check, I have it preset,
Mm-hmm.
but if I know their lender, like I've worked with them before,
Mm-hmm.
I would use what I know the lender uses.
Lender's fees.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the cost I'm talking about now is your buyer. So, like figuring out what price range they're in. Are there some questions that you ask your client to figure out what numbers you should run for that particular client?
I usually make it property specific.
Okay. So how do you figure out what property to run it on?
Yeah, pre-approval.
Pre-approval. Okay. So pre-approval. We'll tell you how much they're pre-approval for.
So then we run scenarios based off of what they like. And
What
then
they like.
Mhm.
Okay.
If there's a specific house, then I'll just use buyer estimate. I click on that B for buyer estimate, and then I'll start working from there, and my presets populate.
Any other questions to gather information from clients to figure out what price range or what closing cost estimate we should run?
Just how much they're putting down,
Down payment.
down
Okay.
payment. They need seller help.
Down payment. So we say how much money they have. Anything. My handwriting is horrible about it.
I can read it, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think the important thing that we gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're with a client who hasn't been pre-approved yet.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask how much they feel comfortable paying them.
I also ask how much, if you're renting, how much do you pay in rent, right? So yes, these are some of the questions that I like to ask for a client. Are you pre-approved? Yes or no? The pre-approval will then give you a lot of information. What homes do you like? When you're looking online and you look at homes, what price range are you shopping in when you look online? How much money do you have that add to the down payment, comfortable monthly payment, and how much is your rent to know what they're currently paying or current housing payment? Okay. Obviously, if it's a seller, we can ask some questions about the house that they have, how much equity they'll gain in the sale of their property. So from these items, I want to come up with a couple buyer scenarios, and let's use those as scenarios to walk through. AM, I'm going to start with you. Can I have you be buyer one? Okay. Hi, AM, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Excited to help you with this buying process.
Yeah,
Um,
help.
All right, excellent. Have you been looking online for homes already?
Yes, I've been looking at Zillow. I've been looking at everything online. But every time I look at something, it's gone. As soon as I need someone to help me.
Okay, all right, well, yes, it's the seller's market. They do go very quickly. When you look online, what price range are you looking in?
Well, considering that I just came out, like I just sold a house, I'm kind of hoping I could find something about like maybe sustainable, maybe like for me, or not sustainable, maybe like 400, 500,000.
400 to 500,000. Okay. And you see homes that you like when you're looking at price range?
I see most of them are closer to like 550,
Okay.
but I want to stay kind of below.
You're gonna stay in this area about 500?
Yeah,
Okay, and I heard you said you sold a house. Did you get some proceeds?
I did. I had equity in that house,
Excellent.
so I do have a down payment.
How much of money do you intend to put into the purchase?
About, I wanted to save some of it too, but I'm thinking at least maybe 20%.
20% down?
Yeah, is that a good number for it? I can get it.
Well, that's one thing we're gonna do today. We're gonna figure out the numbers. So I'm gonna run the numbers for you and make sure that that works for what you wanna do. 20% down, okay. Have you thought about a comfortable monthly payment for your new home?
All right. Thinking maybe 3,500.
35, okay.
And I would like that to include taxes. That's kind of crazy. So at least insurance.
Sounds good. Good, okay. So that's buyer one for right now. Okay, any volunteers for buyer two? Let's go, Nina. Thank you.
You.
Hey, Nina, how are you? We did this in real life.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
People work with me, so you know it's good.
So Nina, congratulations on this home journey. I know you've already purchased a house and worked together in the past. So are you looking to move up? You looking to downsize? What are you planning on doing?
I to buy a
Condo, okay. Are you moving in there permanently or when you travel? What are you thinking?
Be by the beach.
Beach, okay.
This will be something that we can use in the summertime and then rent out whenever we're not there.
Okay, so this is a second home.
Yes.
Sounds good. Can I use it when I'm down at the beach?
No. It would be a good deal, yes.
That's good. Have you been looking at places down at the beach already?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not too sure where to look, so that's why I'm calling on you. You are a great resource, so.
Excellent. Have you thought about a price point?
Yeah, $500,000.
Okay. Sounds good. Are you seeing stuff online at that price when you look?
Yeah, but nothing that I like. So you gotta educate me.
What price range are you seeing things that you like? Higher price range, 800, 900, 800,000. Well, typically what I see most times is when I see people, you have a price range that you feel comfortable with, and then you have a price range that you love, and we just really need to figure out, how to marry the two and maybe meet somewhere in the middle. So we're gonna run those numbers for you, right? Now this is the second home, so you probably gonna put a little bit more money down. Do you have a dollar figure that you're thinking about to put out of pocket for your purchase?
When I was looking online, they said I need to put down at least 20% or 25%.
And you felt comfortable with that?
Yeah.
And have you thought about a monthly payment for this, or did you talk to any lenders about what that monthly payment would look like?
I have, so I would look to you to give me
Did you know? Okay. Now, do you have a comfortable number for this vacation home?
I was looking at the rentals that make maybe
Mhm.
3,500 a month. So as long as I can clear,
Okay.
that would be good.
Okay, so let's say ballpark 3,000.
Okay.
Need a little bit of fishing in here. It sounds good. I'm going to run some numbers for you and get back to you. Okay. Good. Buyer number 3. You got similar price ranges up here. Somebody different. I need a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Dan. Tell me a little bit about what you're looking for in a home. First-time home buyer.
First time homebuyer, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath on 2 acres for $225.
Oh, wow. 8 acres.
4 plus,
4.
nothing big,
Okay.
220.
225. Excellent. I love helping first-time home buyers like this. Have you been looking online?
Oh yeah, I look all the time.
Have you seen properties with 4 plus acres?
Not really.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just look at them all.
we'll figure it out. The 225. How did you come up with that price range?
That just sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, you're renting now?
Renting from my mom,
From your mom. Okay. How much are you paying?
100.
What are you doing for work these days?
A little bit of this and that.
You've been at your job for 2 years consistently?
Not really. Maybe 6 months here or there. Or
Okay. How's your credit?
It's fine.
It's like 480.
It's at least 600.
600? Okay. Let's go.
What is that, 400? 400.
This is how you're do you have a comfortable monthly payment? You know, your new home is not gonna be 400 when you put your paying mom. But have you thought about a comfortable monthly payment?
Maybe 600.
Okay. How soon do you wanna move?
Tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, anytime. Let's get it moving.
Wide open, okay. So I'm gonna run numbers for you. When I look at these numbers preliminarily, it's gonna be tough to get you a $600 payment at a $225,000 property and 4 acres. But we can probably
I'm open to that. That's flexible.
flexible with that, okay. We can
You
go
tell me.
with some strategy.
That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
Have you thought about multifamily where maybe somebody else can supplement what your monthly payment is and we can get you into a pretty decent price range? Would you be open to something like that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so I'll run some numbers and then I'll get back to you, okay? Yeah. All right, so we have 3 buyers. This is really maybe 2 buyers, because these 2 are probably gonna be fairly similar, although we'll run that $800,000 number to see what's what. Does anybody have anything that they would add or ask or additional information they think they would want to get prior to running numbers for?
Timing,
Okay. Anything else?
My question is, you're giving them, I guess it's closing, potential closing, costs,
Yes.
right? But we don't know, like, the lender, the rate, the lender's costs, and all that factors heavily into your closing costs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Lender cost rate, credit score, right? So with a lot of these things, I try my best to give people a high-end estimate. And then maybe when I'm talking to them, I give them some different examples, right? So, as we're talking about rate, what, if you were doing a closing cost estimate, what would you start anybody and everybody with as far as your rate that you would run numbers at?
if I have that pre-approval, I'll have that ready.
No pre-approval.
Okay. And they're telling me their credit score?
Yes.
So-
620 credit score.
I would tell them 6.5, 6.75. Yeah, 6.
20,
I would say 7, probably.
7. Mhm.
And then if they're the first time home buyer, I would explain to them about the grant
Mhm.
for the state. And if they use just the grant, they can get FHA at 5.69. If they're eligible.
This is Delaware State Housing Authority.
Yep.
Excellent.
So if that person's credit was 800 above, then what sort of interest rate? They,
Anybody else want to give an answer before I give my answer? If somebody has an 800 credit score, what interest rate would you give them?
I would give them the standard rate.
What's your standard rate?
What I,
Between each other.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that it's better to give them a higher, just in
Mhm.
case they get a lower interest rate than, they save money. It's better to be higher than the underestimate and then they have to pay me.
And getting interest rates are so subjectable because they can buy them down, they can, there's so many things around it, so yeah.
I'm with Jim. I'm gonna say 7. Every closing cost estimate I start with now, start with 7%. We can always work our way down from there.
Because you could say I start at the high end, it could be lower.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes
Exactly.
sense.
So typically what I would say is something like this. Hey, what I'm seeing right now is somewhere between 6.5 and 6.75. I'm gonna use 7 on my estimate, so I know we have something to play. So that's typically how I let people know, hey, I'm giving you a high-end estimate. I may mention the grant if I think they're grant eligible, but I always run the numbers at the higher.
Fair enough.
All right, so we are going to go into a buyer closing cost estimate. I want you all to help me refill my pre-fills, presets, what I had. I zeroed everything out. If you're not using this currently, I'm pretty sure everybody knows how to get to this closing cost estimate page. And then you just click on preferences here.
I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm new,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Do I know how to get there?
If you're in Bright MLS and you want to get to this buyer closing cost estimate sheet, you can go right here to financial. Then the first option is buyer closing cost.
Thank you.
And then you click on this preferences button and it'll pull up this separate window.
Thank you.
So just to go down this, I don't typically put in a municipality or school district. I don't know if anybody does that if you work in one area. So appraisal, Nina, you started talking about this a little while ago. What are you putting in here for an appraisal amount?
I think my pre-fill is 650.
650, anybody else?
600, I mean, yeah.
What'd you say, Lori?
I usually do 5, but
5, okay.
yeah.
I was at 550. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go to 600. Credit report.
I think where I was at 25.
Anybody have 25 here? Anybody else? Anybody have a closing disclosure nearby?
You have a client, their credit report, I think they had 150 for the credit report from their pre-approval.
Yeah, and a lot of these things do depend on the lender.
Yeah.
I typically have $35 under credit report. Dot prep for the lender, dot prep fee.
They used to.
200, that's what they have in there. I use 200 as well. What about underwriting?
I think I had them married, like 200.
200. I'm at 250 in my underwriting.
I mean, I guess the easiest way for us is just whatever lender you work with, just ask them their prices and then use that as preset, right?
Yep, and that's typically where I get my numbers from.
Gotcha.
And every now and then I'll go back and look at a recent closing disclosure and just see what it was, check the rates from my last couple of closings and things like that.
Yeah.
Flood cert. Anybody have a number for that?
I keep it at 25, but I've seen it as low as 6.
For flood cert? Wow, okay. All right, I had $50 for flood cert. Tax escrow, 125 was the preset. I pretty much left that there. Courier and waiver, courier and wire, you use $35 each. Courier fee, wire fee, typically $35. This escrow waiver, I have not used that. I don't know if anybody's used that at all. What about survey?
See, there were 15. 1,200?
No, why was it? Was it a lot of land?
It was quite a bit, yeah, it was a legal stuff, yeah.
So the average is like 6.
Yep, I've been having 500 in my survey. And then, again, when you go in and put in for the client, if you know they're buying acres, you can always,
Yeah.
but I keep mine at 500. Deed recording,
Thought there were 75.
I think it depends. And this number came from PA because they were telling me with the page, certain amount of pages, it was like $156. So that number's not out of my head, but anywhere between maybe $100 and $200 is probably a fair number for that. Mortgage recording. Same most times. Notary, I have $35 in there for notary. If anybody changes that. This is one I've changed lately. Commission paid by buyer. What are we putting in this box?
Depends.
Tell me about that.
That's, I mean, I wouldn't put that in a preset.
Okay. Anybody else have let's just talk about the numbers. So what I used to do before the commission changed, it would just be a flat $399 fee that we charge them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you mean.
We know it's changed now.
Right.
So, what are you doing on your closing cost estimate for commission?
I mean, me personally, I haven't had a buyer pay any commission
Me either,
other than,
my
I mean,
broker. I don't
my
know.
standard practice is if the seller's agent's given 2.5 or apples, whatever you want to say, oranges, that's what I'm taking. Because my thought process is longer term, I'm gonna get referrals from that. And if I look like someone who's greedy, are they gonna refer me out? So I look at a bigger picture, but I haven't had any situations where no commission was being paid out. Yeah, I haven't had that.
1%,
Yeah.
1.5, I would, without a str-
Can you give a percentage there, or does it have to be?
I think this one you have to put in the number. But again, you can change it estimate that you do, right?
And so, I mean, when you're doing your buyer's consultation, with your buyer, it depends upon the buyer.
Yeah.
Whether it's even gonna be a topic, if it's ever gonna, that you know they don't have the money, it's not even gonna be, brought up. We're gonna be looking at that the seller's gonna be paying. So that it wouldn't apply. And then I do, like if somebody does have closing costs and they are a means to be able to maybe supplement. And I explained to them, it's up to you. I mean, you can go in with a very strong offer with the contingency that they pay or you can go, if you want to get a lower price and you want to get the price down or, wherever you want to work it, then, you can make up the difference to me directly. And so it's their decision, and so there's no surprises later on either. Like, okay, well, I want to see this house. That's great. Let's go see this house. By the way, I'm going to do the closing costs for you, work up and see what it would be. And just to let you know, they're only offering, 1.5% or whatever. This is what it would be. So when we go and make an offer, you might want to take that into consideration, ask for it, or just go in if it's more for your have that luxury.
And what I've been seeing a lot more, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
What I've been seeing a lot more too is agents aren't telling you what they're giving up either.
No,
They're saying write it in the command, write it in the command. So
Exactly, I get it.
so it's like harder now to like.
When you say you haven't had any buyers pay, do you still have a flat fee that you charge?
Oh yeah, I have brokers.
How much is your broker fee?
$3.95.
Okay, so we're gonna say flat fee over here.
I'd say yours is what, $3.90, so pretty similar.
Yeah, mine's 3.9.
I don't know why I did 95.
Okay.
A quick question for you guys. My name's Liv. I'm one of the lenders with Guaranteed Rate. Are you giving your own version of numbers? Are you relying on your lender to give numbers? Because sometimes there's a little bit of a discrepancy between numbers that you guys give out versus what the numbers might actually be.
So
Is there any-
I'll be one.
Yeah.
And that's actually came in the class because I don't do buyer estimated closing costs.
Okay.
Because in the past I was threatened to be sued
Okay.
by a client because I didn't have the proper lender numbers.
Yep.
So what I always do is the lender that I work with, and I've done a deal with Jason straight too, is I ask the lender for those numbers, and I haven't had any lenders not say no. So
If you are working with lenders, specifically Guaranteed Rate, anyone in there, they should always be giving your clients numbers when they give your pre-approval.
but we're not that's where
Even in the beginning, so I don't want to interrupt at all, but
Yeah.
some of these numbers that you guys are filling in, like the lender that you're working with will have specific numbers, like will have specific notary fees, there'll be specific,
So from a lender perspective, would you say, this is why I came, because I wanted to know, this is like something that sometimes it comes up a lot. Let's say you're the preferred lender for who I work with.
Yep.
I could reach out and get those numbers from you that you charge, and then that way it'd be a little more accurate, correct?
yes.
So the numbers that we put in so far, are there any numbers that you would change?
No, some of them are dependent on the purchase price. So like the deed recording and the mortgage recording can fluctuate, based on the purchase price. So, I like how you guys are overestimating a couple of the figures. But yeah, a lot of these do change property to property or even like location to location. county by county, state, it's all different. So these are good just for like generic figures, but then once you start getting further along, like you want to be very careful when you're using these systems for your clients.
And it works both ways, right? Because the lenders don't have our fees. We're talking about commission right
Exactly.
now. The lenders are gonna tell them you need 12,000, and then if they need to pay another 1.5%, that's not on the lender's fee.
Right.
Inspections are not on the lender's sheet. So you have to work together with your lender and say, hey, these are our numbers. Typically are a little bit higher than the lender, which is always good because then that makes us both look good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because there'll be cases too, and I've actually seen this where through these, Bright MLS closing costs, an appraisal might not save, so it goes back to the $325 that it kind of sets in, and then when your client gets hit with, $600, it's going to look like you guys just severely, underestimated how much it's going to be. So you just want to be careful when you are doing these, that you kind of set good expectations right out of the bat, that you're, around the same amount as what it actually could be.
And also over stress, that these are estimates.
Right.
This is
So I think you're gonna say a stress fee for each.
Say something.
I think there's a disclosure with it too, when you sign it, it says it's just.
This is an estimate.
You'll be careful. It's interesting. A lot of people don't read that. So you have to be strong with what you give out.
So what I would say too, and what to Jim's point where he said he was threatening to be sued, I always tell people in our buyer consultation, this is a high level estimate and it's averages. You will get a specific closing cost estimate with your lender, and those are the numbers you're gonna go with. If the lender does not include blank, 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 which is the stuff that we do, I say your inspections are gonna range you anywhere from $675 to $800, depending on. And then my broker fee is $399. Typically, I'm seeing sellers pay anywhere from 2% to 3%. I charge 3%. So what I'll do here is just to split it in the middle, is put 0.5% in here just in case they're not willing to give you that 3%. So you have a generic idea of how much money you're going to need. But I had that conversation with them in the beginning. And of course, when they start seeing numbers, it makes it very real for them. And they're gonna be like, and I tell them, it's an estimate. So that's when you get your pre-approval, that estimate is gonna be closer to what you're gonna be looking at when you go to closing. Once you have a specific property, they're gonna update that estimate for you and give it to you based off of that property. So I always reiterate that every time we look at numbers. This is the estimate, you won't know. And then 3 days before closing, you're gonna get the true number when you go to cut your check.
Yep. No, I think that's great. And I also think a good thing just to get in the habit of is send the buyer's agency agreement to the lender so that we know, hey, 2% or 3% or whatever percent is gonna be kind of in the back of my mind, I know, I should be thinking 2%. And then if you are in the talks with people and there is a possibility that there is going to be a split in commission between buyer and seller, we can add that to our estimates as well to give them an idea of what that would look like.
So to close out on the commission portion of it, right, we all should be having this conversation with our clients ahead of time. Nina and I are similar. Hey, my fee is 3% plus $399. Okay. Most times the seller is going to pay most or all of that, and most buyers pay $399. However, I do like to include 0.5% in our estimate just in case this seller is not paying the full 3% and maybe paying 2.5%. Okay. So I use in my numbers right now 0.5% plus $399. You can't put that in that box and you can't put a percentage in there. So I still put $399 there just as a reminder. And then when I go back and look at their price range, I add the 0.5% in. And again, when they end up only paying $399 at closing, they love me, right? That's what we put in that box, okay?
I guess my question is, you're doing like a generic closing cost for, not a specific property, but we all know, like, taxes could be $1,200, they could be $3,800.
So this page doesn't include any property specific things, but when we get to the next page, I'll show you how to pull all the property specific information into there.
So like school district, the school taxes could be one thing.
Yeah, so I don't put anything in this section.
And this is your preference thing.
Yeah, this is just the price.
So then it automatically pulls.
You pull it in and then it, pull it in for the rest of this. All right, home inspection.
I would put 800 there.
I would put 800 these days.
Separate.
Separate, totaling the three. So radon and, termite and 550.
That's it. Yeah.
150.
Termite is 125 and radon I've seen 150.
8, 9.
Yeah.
That's about right.
It's like,
Yeah, so I'm averaging about 1,200 with a well and septic.
I put 6 and 6 in those.
Well, septic in here, I don't typically go well and septic, so I don't get anything in there, but that can go in there. And then attorney fee.
450, is that right?
I've been using 400, but so we're gonna save this. Preferences have been saved. So once that's done, we don't have to do that. We come here to the actual buyer closing cost estimate. We talk about all the property specific stuff, all the changes that are specific for a client. We can put it here, right? I am doing, like I said, in my initial quote, that 7%. But if somebody does, if we get a pre-approval, now we know they're doing Delaware State Housing Authority, and we can update their numbers. We can look at the lender sheet. We can add all those things in and have all the lenders' numbers, but then still also have our numbers in there for commission, inspection, stuff like that. That's where I go when I go back and update. Okay. So let's start with buyer 3, because this is the most interesting. A lot of conversation with the buyer. So
It's freaking reality, though.
for me, I always start with a property first, right? So I probably go, he's a little all over the place, right? So I'm going to start with 25. That we could probably get him into something for that. It's not going to be what he wants. We can at least show him the numbers and give him a goal of what he needs to be prepared for monthly payment wise and closing. I'm just going to find something in that's county.
That's one of the things that like I kind of been leading off with my buyer conference, especially moving out of state. Delaware is not the cheap housing state that you once thought it was. You're gonna have to do like a range for prices.
All right, so I'm just gonna pick one. 10 North Street. Okay, so
Especially
whatever client we're looking at, I figure out a property. I typically like to ask them have you seen a property that you like?
Yep.
Pull that up, run numbers on it. So from here, we're just going to just B with the $sign. That takes us to the buyer closing cost estimate, and it pre-fills all of the property specific information. So that saves us a lot of headache with that.
Hey, you know how many times I've searched? Every time I search, I've never done it through the.
Yeah. You don't either. I go financial, and then I go in.
Literally hit the search button. Sometimes it doesn't show up.
You gotta get the last number.
All right, I'm good. I learned something about it.
You pick that little $1.
You did this last time.
Easier what?
We good over here?
Yeah.
Okay. So from here, whatever property you choose, you have buyer closing cost estimate here, you have seller here. So whatever you're doing, you can just click right on
Okay.
the B with the $sign. If you click on that, it'll autofill all the property information, taxes,
Thank you.
school districts, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. I pick a settlement date based on the time frame that my client told me. Hey, I want to move in 60 days. I want to move in 90 days, whatever that is. I pick a date. Interest rate, like I said, I'm always starting with 7 right now. Earnest deposit. How much is the earnest deposit? $225,000 price. How much is the earnest deposit?
1 or 2%, I would say 2,000, 2,500.
What if you were doing 500,000?
I would do 5,000.
5 to 10,000. Yeah. We're gonna call it.
Depending on how much they got.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but I always say at least 1%.
Financing for buyer number 3. Okay, he's not pre-approved.
FHA.
You're gonna go FHA.
She's a first time home buyer.
FHA, 3.5% down. That'll change. Obviously, you can change the percentages if you want to change that. Mortgage insurance. Liv,
Yeah.
talk to us. Well, let me give my spiel on mortgage insurance first. Everybody's familiar with mortgage insurance, right? The more you put down, the lower the mortgage insurance is, up to 20%. These numbers in the Bright MLS are much higher than what the actual number is.
Yeah.
I still typically leave these numbers. Again, my clients are always excited when you talk to the lender because their numbers are always lower when they go to the lender. So Liv, talk to us about this a little bit. I see rates here, 1.75
Yep.
upfront, 55 points monthly.
So that's FHA specific.
Okay.
So anytime you have an FHA financed, that's gonna be set and standard every single time. 1.75 upfront, 55 a month. That can never be changed with FHA. Conventional, it can be switched. So I have these forms if you want to take one and pass it along. Every time we price an interest rate, if the loan is less than 20% down, it automatically gives us mortgage insurance options. The breakdown I have attached is a little bit higher of a scenario, but it gives you a good idea of the different monthly mortgage insurance amounts based on down payment. For the document I just sent around, it's a $400,000 purchase with 3 different loan to value amounts. The first one is a 5% down, the middle one is 10% down, and the bottom one is 15% down. You can see as you put more down, the monthly, it's going to be the best premium is always to the left, the one that's shaded in the dark. You're going to see as you put, a different amount down, the monthly mortgage insurance changes. With FHA, that's not the case. FHA, it's set in stone. It's a government-based program, so that's just what the client is stuck with, unfortunately. With conventional, with jumbo, you do have some room to kind of play around with it based on down payment and specifically credit score. Those are the big 2 things that are associated with the both monthly mortgage insurance, and then if they want to see financed or if they want to see it paid out in full, they can see those different options.
So if we pretend this is the same $400,000 buyer that you have on your sheet, right here we're showing 0.94.
Yes.
What this sheet is telling me is that it could be anywhere from 0.47, 0.33, 0.17.
Depending on down payment.
Depending on down payment.
Yep.
Okay. So anybody else want to add or talk to mortgage insurance? I typically don't change these. I always know on the conventional side they can be lower. Keep them real.
What about other government-based programs? Are they set in stone too? Like USDA?
USDA is different from FHA. So FHA, the upfront 1.75 is paid at closing, and then the monthly 0.55 is each month. Unlike conventional loans, that monthly never drops off. If they have more equity, usually with conventional loans, once you hit 20% equity, your monthly mortgage insurance whacks. USDA is a little bit different from FHA because once you get to a certain amount of equity, that mortgage insurance will drop. It's more like a conventional where your credit score helps with the USDA based on what your monthly just premium will pay. FHA, it's kind of black and white. This is what it's going to be, and it can't really change.
So you would have to refi to get it.
You would have to refinance to get that monthly insurance. Yes. Yeah. The only one of the benefits of an FHA is typically the underwriting guidelines are a little bit more lenient because the credit score window is larger. So typically anywhere below 620 is where the client's going to go into an FHA program, and their interest rates are actually a little bit better than conventional. So I know we're using 7 for this scenario, but in this you'd probably be looking closer to low 6s, specifically with FHA. But the downside is they get hit with that higher, both finance mortgage insurance and the monthly mortgage insurance.
No, quick question specifically to your organization.
Yeah.
Are you able to pre-approve someone? Because I know FHA says you can have a 580 credit score. Have you been able to approve people with a lower of a score?
Yeah, we've been able to go as low as I've had someone that's had like a 535. So as long as they have other, financial characteristics in their portfolio, if it kind of works, they do have some options.
I will say the first time I used Jason, I haven't used Jason in a while, and then all of a sudden he was at the office. I'm like, oh, pretty long.
Yeah.
Because it was a whole different, it wasn't him or I's fault. It was a whole different scenario. He was on a different guy and I was on a different team. So, but he saved a deal where no other person could close that FHA deal. And he came in and no problems at all, just took a little extra time and he saved a great deal because of that flexibility. So,
Yeah, we do have a lot of kind of like youth programs that a couple other lenders don't necessarily have. So specifically, like if your person just started establishing credit and they only have one score, we have a program for that. If they're international and, you know, they came over and they, you know, just received a social security number and they just started establishing, you know, getting their citizenship, we have programs for that. Self-employment, there's a lot of creativity that we can kind of use. It might not be the best terms, but at least it's financing for them that, you know, some places don't have.
Thank you.
All right, moving down to this next mortgage question, mortgage origination. What are you putting, and then we'll come to you, Liv. What are you putting in for mortgage origination fee?
1,500.
1,500, okay.
14, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're 1640, so it's a 150 application fee plus it's 1290, so a total of 1640.
Oh, perfect. Discount points, I typically don't do anything on the original, let them deal with that with the lender and depending on the funds that they have. A lot of these pre-filled in the section already. Okay. Transfer tax will automatically populate based on the property. Well, deed, mortgage, recording, notary. Commission paid by buyer. So this is where I go with the 0.5% plus $3.99. What would that be? 225, 11. Let's just call it 1,300 for this person in particular. Homeowners insurance, $225,000 price point. What are you putting for homeowners insurance?
If it's a row home, I put 1,200 in.
1,200. Okay. Anybody else? I'm doing 1,200. I'm doing 1,500 now.
You are?
I'm doing
Okay.
1,500 for homeowners insurance.
Especially with everything going up, so homeowners
Exactly.
probably not a bad idea.
Two things I skipped over really quickly. Well, not, this one here, this is unpaid because most people pay this at the table.
Mhm.
If you put prepaid, it'll put it in your prepaid items at the bottom of the sheet. And the same thing with the mortgage origination. Always change that to unpaid.
And then home warranty, do you put anything in there?
I typically don't. Most of my clients don't pay for a home warranty. But do you put home warranty in there?
I do, and I have a conversation with them. Right, like while I'm running it up, I'll say, hey, a home warranty for a room is about $700. Would you like to do that? That will take away
Mhm.
the cost of you having to repair something, like a major repair in that first year. And plug it in.
That's not fair to buyer.
Why is it not fair to buy?
It protects them.
It protects the buyer.
No, but 700 is.
That's how much it costs. Look at the price.
But they don't have to give.
Sinner paid.
Well, you can.
No, it's up to the state.
They gave me, when I was buying my home, they gave me home warranty, but then that home warranty didn't do anything because the refrigerator wasn't working. I had to replace it. The stove was on fire. I had to call the fire department. So it cost me so much. I know home warranty doesn't help much.
Well, the problem with here's the problem. When the seller provides a home warranty, they're buying the cheapest one that they and say they're. But if the buyer can pick their home warranty, you look at them, you say, all right, the stove didn't look good. Let's get a stove option. So it's kind of. I have clients that buy home warranty every year.
Yeah.
It's part of their budget and they have it every year and they've had no problem.
These two, where you can actually get the upgraded appliance packages and all that kind of stuff too.
But the seller side, they're just picking the cheapest one that they can do.
Definitely.
Negotiating, you say you want a credit, or you tell them specifically the plan you want them to buy.
Yeah.
I never let the seller go off and just say, oh, we're gonna give you a $400. I'm not gonna pay for the warranty. So I make sure it's the most robust product for them, and that's the 700 because they get everything. And that way, if the stove catches fire and
It will
they
be covered.
miss that 30 days, after that 30 days, now if it happened on day 7, I don't know if it will respond on some of the plans, but I would say you just gotta make sure that they understand the terms, and I tell them to shop it as well. Like, we have options, but go and shop it and see what works best for you. And I tell them, check the limits of coverage and check your service fee amount. That way you can compare apples to apples. But somebody might have a cheaper premium, but you spending $150 for them to come out, where another company may only charge you $75. Or my famous response is, one person has a water heater limit of $500. Tell me where you're gonna get someone to install a water heater for $500. It's really education.
So we put in all the numbers for this particular buyer. With no assistance, they need 28,000, and the payment will be 1845 per month. For this particular buyer, number 3, this is just an educational moment, right? They're not quite ready to purchase a home.
I can't afford no 1,800.
Can't afford 1,800. So this buyer, if they could do it, I'm coaching them towards maybe thinking about multifamily, or is there somebody that they can go in and own with? Does mom, where you're renting, does she own the home? Mom might be renting, your mom could, go into. So just giving them some options. Hey, this is 28,000. Right now we have grants that are 15,000 or so. So you could say, how far are you away from having $12,000? How long will it take you to come up with that?
And it's stackable grants too, so you might not
Exactly.
get that much.
Exactly. And that'll give me, for a buyer that's not quite ready, this at least gives me a blueprint of how to follow up with them and when to follow up with them. Hey, the savings going. You told me you would be able to save $1,500 every month. How's that going? Have you thought of, hey, I've seen these multifamily, I see this triplex that, you would bring in $2,000 a month, and that your $600, you good to go. You can use that as income to get qualified. So just giving different ideas for somebody that might not quite be ready to purchase a property yet. But if this was within their wheelhouse, if they talk about, hey, I can afford $2,000 a month, I have 28,000, or I have 15,000, we can use the grant. Then I'm talking to them about the buyer agency agreement, and then talking to the lender to lock down the numbers. And again, typically when they talk to the lender, this estimated cash is a little lower and this monthly payment is a little lower, or they can afford a little bit of a higher house. Right, the last person I talked to about getting pre-approved, my numbers was 250, and when she talked to the lender, she was up at, I think, 310, 315. She was able to use this Delaware State Housing Authority rate of 5.8 instead of 7% rate. So she was ecstatic that now she's looking at $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to add anything? Ask anything on this?
Let's scroll.
Can you scroll down? Down this. Back up this.
No, down. Yeah, so I was just looking at her.
Fire.
They've added some wording down there.
These figures are estimated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I mean,
Thinking like to cover our RNAs, I know they sign it, but I think I would almost have them initial next to it.
That's where I'm having to sign it this down. So there's the signature line.
oh no, it's very.
Yeah, in the print,
And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you see the ones.
it's still,
Signatures there.
I would almost still have them sign initial next to it. Just to cover our asses.
But that's really, I think, also just continuous education to your client, saying, hey, this is the estimate, but I'm going to the bank and ask them for their numbers. And that way, the lender has to come because they know your whole credit.
Yeah. And then once they're on the contract, the numbers will move around, the title gets involved, start coming in, it'll even start going, so. I tell people, You know the numbers when you sign them at the closing date. You'll have a good idea going up to it, but if closing moves, your days of interest moves. Or there's little things that can come up, if there's a water cert or if there's something. So it's always good just to have, like estimates in a conversation with them.
What is my $1 million house?
Okay. There's one store. I'll take the beaches. You're getting a condo, right? Yeah, I'm getting a condo.
You had a pre-bills in there.
It's going to be 2,000. You had a single home, but 2,500.
All right, so this particular buyer, 20% down. It would need about $3,000 per month, $3,100 per month, $124 out of pocket. Yeah, 20% down. We didn't get a dollar amount. You got it? $125,000. That works for you as far as your down payment? $3,000.
Right, you do.
30, lower than your $3,500 monthly payment.
Nice.
Ready to get out and start looking?
Let's go. No, let's get that one.
So you do your estimates during your buyer consult too?
I do.
Okay, I've never done that.
Always do.
Always basically.
I don't.
When I have them on Zoom, I can, because they tell me a house they love. And I say, oh, okay, let's see how much it's gonna cost you. So I like that because it gives them perspective. Because if they're shopping over their budget, they'll say, oh, no, I need to find a cheaper house. But they say, oh, okay, this works. And I remember, to Albert's point, he helped me buy my house down here. He had me sign a buyer estimate at one of the houses. I was like, oh, this is great. My heart started to sing.
That's preparation too. That's that.
Yeah.
Just informative for especially first time home buyers, give them the information. A lot of them aren't ready the first time we talk to them.
Right.
This will give them some concrete numbers that they can play around with in their head and prepare for it. So I feel like it's an important education piece. But again, lenders do it, right? If you do it first, definitely it's always good to have access to the numbers. You're dealing with different lenders.
Yeah, because a lot of first-time home buyers don't realize there's closing costs associated with buying a house. They think down payment's just it, and then when they get involved, they're like, "What's that additional $25,000 or whatever it is?" So it's always good, at the very beginning, just to start establishing some.
So question from lenders. I've had lenders that won't share the buyer's estimated closing costs with the realtor.
Put you on the email right with the client.
Yeah.
Every time.
How would a lender do that?
Some people won't even give numbers with the pre-approval, they just give the pre-approval.
Yeah.
I mean, mortgage
So worried
shopping,
about mortgage shopping.
it's a thing, it's gonna happen, it is.
Nothing, no matter what.
Yeah,
He's afraid of it. Yeah.
exactly, I mean, it's inevitable, some lenders don't wanna deal with it, but it's something that we.
I haven't. It's close to deal with a pretty prominent lender company in Delaware, and she didn't see any numbers until the final closing. She was like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
And I had no idea. She never told me. Told me.
3 days.
Yeah, they have to disclose it.
But you can go to application too.
Yeah, but she.
Wow.
I not paid it.
We asked the lender for. See what the difference was. I can figure even. I think with the lender partner.
Yeah.
Like the actual lender, but I was like, well, let me see, can you send me your original one?
Right,
So maybe there's something was inputted.
I'm sorry, I didn't have share the agent.
Yeah.
Disclosure for you to even review it, but.
there's a thing that, clients will tell us, I want this to be, sent to me, and like out of courtesy, like we give it to you guys.